Hey everybody, my name is Dylan Schumann, and today is October the 11th, 2015. It is observed, nationally observed Coming Out Day, and instead of making a very long status, I have decided that I would like to make a video of my coming out story. And so, my coming out story starts back in 2007, so 8 years ago. And it was a time in my life that I was really struggling with my sexual identity because back then, even in 2007, you know, it was when, being gay, openly gay, was becoming more and more accepted, but at the same time, it really wasn't. And for me, letting people know who I really was the scariest thing in the entire world, because I battled with these feelings for my entire life. I have known since I was in preschool that I was different than everybody else. My first kiss was actually a boy. His name was Blake. And it was then in preschool that I realized that, oh, I don't like girls. I kind of like boys. And it was after Blake and I actually got caught kissing that this I remember this girl, she came up and told me that it wasn't okay for boys to kiss boys kiss only girls. And it was from there that followed me all the way up until I was 16 years old, because growing up I realized I was very different from everybody else. I felt like I was alone because I always had a crush on the cute boys in class. I never really felt attracted to other girls in my class, but I would always say that I liked other girls just to hide the fact that I had, crushes on other boys. And so I would have little girlfriends here and there growing up, and even into the beginning of high school, I was dating girls. And, honestly, it was just an image for me because that's what society wanted, and that's what I felt like my parents wanted, my friends, they all expected of me. And it wasn't until the summer going into my junior year that I kind of came to terms a little bit with who I was. Not completely, because the idea of coming out as gay scared me completely, because I had this idea of what being gay meant. And being gay, at least to me, and how it was portrayed in the media and how everybody thought of what the word gay meant, was that I had to be this flamboyant, effeminate, limp-wristed guy. And being gay meant so many horrible things to me, and that it scared me, because that's with the definition of being gay, about how it's just a guy who likes a guy. I knew that that's who I was, but I wasn't ready to admit that completely. And so I clung to the idea of that maybe one day I'll still marry a woman and have those kids and white picket fence, the whole big dream. So I decided that, bisexuality, that identity fit for me, because at the time it was an easy transition. And so it wasn't until I met somebody who was openly gay that really helped me see that I'll feel so much better once I accept who I am, and once I know that everybody else knows, that it will be a lot better. And it took me a while, but I eventually decided that, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to own up to everything, because I I felt trapped. I felt like I couldn't breathe because I felt like I was constantly lying to everybody. I felt like I was constantly putting up this image that eventually is going to catch up to me. And I just felt so suffocated for the fact that I couldn't be who I wanted to be. I couldn't like who I wanted to like because I felt like everybody wouldn't accept me for that. And so it was a school night, and I called my closest friends at the time at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I broke down to them, and I said to them over the phone, I think, I think I like boys, and almost it was kind of funny because both of them pretty much said, Dylan, I don't care, I love you still, but it's 3 o'clock in the morning, let me go back to bed. And so it was from there that I was just like, you know what? If the closest people in my life don't care, then I don't care what anybody else thinks. So I stuck with the identity of being bisexual because it was easier. And eventually everybody found out. And if someone were to come up to me and ask me, I wouldn't deny it anymore. I felt alive. I felt like I just let a huge weight off my chest because I was just like, I can finally be who I want to be. I can finally like who I want to like. And I didn't care what anybody else thought. And so with my friends, it was a very positive experience because everybody was just like, I still love you the way you are. Some of them were heartbroken because they're just like, oh. So I broke a few hearts when I came out, but you know what? I still felt great. I felt amazing to be who I wanted to be. And so I finally mustered up the courage to tell my mother, because my mom is boy at heart, I will admit. And I mustered up the courage to tell my mom. And so I came home one day from school and I told my mom, hey, I want to talk to you. And so I took her outside to the porch and sat down and just began to cry. Just began to cry because in my head, I thought, I've heard all of these horror stories of kids being kicked out of their homes, disowned, their parents not loving them. And to me, that would have been devastating. That my mother, my biggest supporter, would not accept me or love me for who I was. And so I just did it like a Band-Aid. I was just like, Mom, how would you feel if I said I liked boys? And to my surprise, I guess not to my surprise, because I know my mom loves me, she pretty much said, I love you no matter what. And that right there was enough for me to just break down, and I just started bawling. And it was a huge relief for me that I finally got to tell my mom. And, and I told her, I feel like I'm bisexual. And to her, coming out as bisexual was more confusing because she's just like, so does that mean you're taking Susie or Paul to the prom? And, I told her that this is probably just a phase, that I'm still going to marry a woman. Don't worry. You're still going to have grandkids. Because that was also her big thing. She's like, I better still have grandkids one day. I was like, don't worry. You will. But then I told her, I was like, please don't tell Brian, who was my stepdad at the time. And she's like, okay, I won't, but you'll need to tell him. And eventually, like 6 months went by, I didn't tell him. And she's just like, Dylan, I had to tell him. I couldn't keep that from him anymore. And to my surprise, because Brian, he was just manly man, hunting, beer, whir. And apparently all he said was, as long as I take out the trash every Tuesday, he doesn't care. And he still loves me for who I am. And it was from there that I just decided this is who I am. This is who I'm going to be. But I battled with my identity still for another 2 more years. It took me until my freshman year of college, when I moved to Lincoln to start my college career, to really own up to the fact that, yeah, I'm not bi. I'm definitely gay. And it was until I met a group of friends on campus that on their LGBT group that I really saw that it was really okay, because all these kids were open and just so proud and happy about it. And I was like, you know what? That's who I am. That is me. That's my identity. That's what's gonna make me happy. And so I did. I changed my MySpace. Yes, MySpace. My MySpace sexual orientation to gay, and I changed Facebook to interested in men, and I never looked back. And my coming out story has been such a positive one. And I know some people don't get that and haven't had that. And my heart breaks for those people because, I had such a positive experience coming out of the closet. But I know with my experience, I know that, it is okay to be who you are. It is okay to be gay, lesbian, transsexual, bisexual, queer, anything. It's okay to be who you are. And that's the biggest lesson I learned, because I fortunately had the biggest support system ever. It was the easiest transition for me, and I couldn't have been happier. I felt loved, and everybody still loves me to this day. And, my father and I, him and I have actually never had the talk, but I know he's supportive because I've introduced every single boyfriend that I've ever had to him. He's invited them over for dinner, for holidays, and just family get-togethers. And, I know he's proud of me, and I know that he loves me for who I am. Even if he didn't agree with it at first, I know that he supports me. And that's all that matters. And so my coming out story was one of the good ones. And for those who haven't had a good experience or haven't had this experience yet, I just want you guys to, I just want to say, you will come out in your own time. You will do this in your own time. You can't just be forced to do it. And if you are unfortunately forced to do so, it definitely is a good way to find out who your true friends are. But with your family, I will say, your family will always love you no matter what. And if they're not accepting of it at first, once they realize that this is really who you are, they'll accept you. They will come around. It's cliche, but it really does get better. And if anything, if it's not a positive experience, at least you have a weight off your chest and you don't have to hide anymore. That's the worst part of it, is hiding and lying. Don't need to hide. You don't need to lie. Especially in 2015 these days, when it's so widely accepted and everybody's just like, you're gay, so what? But I just want to share my story and my experience, and I hope if someone's watching this and they're still struggling with their sexual identity, that maybe this helps them. But I just wanted to tell my story and show that, love is love. And that's all I felt from when I came out. And I am so happy that I have the support system that I do. And I'm truly blessed. And for all those who are watching this, I love you. Thank you so much for accepting me and loving me for who I am. And if it weren't for you guys, I don't even know. I really don't. But I love you, and happy National Coming Out Day.